You guys just you keep coming around. I just keep hearing about you guys.
And I might need to tell Ryan to cut that up a little bit and just put it in my audio for my phone.
First of all, I love the game. I had a passion to play the game, not only football, but I love the game of golf. And what it lends to a person and the friendships you develop on the golf course.
It's been a pleasure being on the drop. I wish you guys all the best down the road.
As someone like you have that golf itch like a lot of us do.
I keep track of you, and you are moving. You are on the move.
So listen, I'm a big New Jersey golf guy. You're very kind, Mike, and you too, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be on just a couple of Jersey boys here talking about something we love. All the best. I really enjoyed it.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome back. It is Interview Thursday. We have a very special guest. We have the 2025 PGA Professional of the Year and Director of Golf at Plainfield Country Club, Scott Paris. It's a Plainfield week, Mike.
Busy Plainfield week. And again, listen, Scott's one of those guys, when you get that type of accolade, as much as it is just you representing Plainfield itself, that accolade is icing on the cake. And we kind of, had to navigate our way to find Scott to get him on the show. And you'll hear firsthand, he's not someone that really likes to harp on things that he has done, but it is his opportunity. And we give him the platform to kind of speak about all good things happening at Plainfield Country Club.
Yeah, he does say he's not a self-promotions guy. He does not really like it, but it was really nice to have him on. And like you said, that's kind of our goal here, is to give people the platform, give courses the platform, give them the opportunity to kind of talk about the experience there and kind of what they have to offer and why our state is so great in golf. And Scott does exactly that. He's not really comfortable with that accolade, but well-deserving for sure. And he's just a wealth of knowledge as far as when it comes to golf. I mean, he's been in it for so long. He's been around the block. He's been at Plainfield for forever and seen all the stuff that's happened there. So really fortunate to have him on and get to kind of pick his brain about different things in the golf industry.
Yep, no doubt. Totally agree.
So, and, made a good hire with his most recent senior assistant, my guy Mike Young, getting the job up there. So I was happy to see that. So without further ado, we're going to send you right now to Scott Paris and that interview that we did with him. Enjoy.
All right, on today's episode of the Drop Podcast, we're joined by the 2025 PGA Professional of the Year and longtime Director of Golf at Plainfield Country Club, Scott Paris. Thank you so much for joining today's show.
I can't thank you enough for having me, and really appreciate all you do to promote this game we all love. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Scott, this is an honor for us. We're really excited to have you, so thank you.
My pleasure. Again, thank you.
So, Scott, as we kind of get started here, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of a lot of questions I have, why don't you give the audience a little bit of a background about you, how you got into this game to the present day, into your position where you're at now?
Happy to. Mine's not a traditional path. I was playing all the other team sports through high school, and my mediocre baseball career was going to come to an end and not continue in college. But I've always been a competitor, and I had started playing some golf, especially with my father, and started spending some time around some good players and got better and better. And so dabbled with some Connecticut state events where I grew up. And then when I was at school, I went to Bucknell University in Pennsylvania. I was able to walk onto the team. So that was kind of the beginning. And then after a little escapade to Aspen, Colorado as a ski bum for a year, which actually started my career, to be honest. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was my introduction to hospitality and teaching and coaching, because I did work as a ski instructor. But to learn the communication skills and understanding fundamentals and how to understand how different people learn differently, that was the beginning for me. So after that winter, and my parents were still a little bit in shock that I left college and went out there, I told them I was going to try and figure out something in the golf industry. And I thought maybe I could play. So I did dabble with some mini tour events and quickly looked around and realized I wasn't going to play for a living. But one of the big impactful things was my first golf lesson with Mitchell Spearman. He was working for David Ledbetter. And the way he communicated and used video was so eye-opening for me. And that was clearly a moment in time that helped me develop an interest in teaching and coaching and really understanding cause and effect. There was another incident a little bit before that, just after I got out of college. Actually, I did one winter while I was in college. One summer, working for a club maker. And that was an impactful experience. Again, in Connecticut. And I was, this shows my age, but we were doing persimmon clubs and laminated maple wooden clubs. And that was my job, was building these clubs. And this was kind of the early club fitting stuff. And again, I was around some really good players who mentored me and coached me. And then the third impactful thing was I did move to Florida, as I mentioned, and dabbled and worked at a club just hosing off carts and picking the range. And I loved it. But I was making minimum wage, and I wanted to kind of dive into the club side of things. So with a friend, I'm driving by a place called Aronimink Golf Club down in Philadelphia. And I'm like, you got to pull in. And when we pulled in, there was something about that place. I'm like, this is the kind of place I want to work. And I literally went back to Florida, was finishing up the season there, and I sent a letter to the head professional, Jim Masario, and he needed a seasonal assistant. So just got really lucky. He hired me, and that was really the big break. But I loved it. The people there went from being the entry-level guy that over 5 summers became their first assistant, and really kind of learned the trade and was taking in everything I could from all the professionals around me and people around me. And in 1997, Plainfield needed a head professional, and somehow they hired this guy. And I'm just so appreciative for the chance they took on me.
Wow, I didn't realize that you've been at Plainfield for that long, Scott. That's quite a run at such a high level, prestigious club there.
Yeah, they my predecessor Mike Gray moved on to an opportunity out in Arizona, and so kind of a funny story. This is a good one for young people. So they had made a decision they were not going to hire anybody without head professional experience, and they wanted somebody who was married. I didn't check either box. So, and I was younger than I looked. I looked younger than I was. So I happened to run into a guy. This is like a raw, lousy day down in Philly when I was at Aronimink in November. And he asked me what was going on with my career and any applications I might have. And I mentioned Plainfield. And he goes, I know the president there. He goes, back from my college days at Villanova. He's like, I'm going to call him up. And he literally wouldn't let him get off the phone. And because he was getting this explanation of the experience they needed and kind of point in life that they needed. And he basically was relentless and wouldn't let the president at the time, his name is Ed Welsh, get off the phone. And they're like, all right, we'll give him an interview. So my buddy calls me up. He goes, listen, you got an interview. I can't help anymore, but you are at the absolute bottom of their list. It's all on you now. So I put together a strategy for the interview, and somehow it worked. I couldn't believe it. I flew back to Florida after my first interview, and I'm like, I'll probably never see this place again. And the phone rang, and they flew me right back up, and I'm still here.
Wow.
So I'm so fortunate. It's an amazing place. But the point of that brief story is that you never know what interaction or what encounter is going to help you with advancing your career or wherever it is you want to go. So I do share that story with some of the young and up and comers in our industry that you've got to be on your game, because you don't know what person's going to walk in the door that may help you accomplish your goals. But I was just so fortunate for that friend of mine down at Aronimink that he took an interest in me, and we keep in touch now. So anyway, I'm just so fortunate to be here. This place is amazing.
Yeah,
people talk about the golf course, but it's the people. I mean, this is like a work hard, play hard crowd that they're so proud to be here. It's almost all givers, not takers. They just want the club to get better, and they treat all of us like family. So I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, to your point, it's such a small world that you don't know who you run into or who's going to circle back into your life later in life. So that is a really cool story. What is the membership like there? How big is it? Is it is it a balance between golfing and social? Not that I saw, but is it like tennis? What else is at the club? Actually, no, I did see tennis as we drove in.
So Plainfield is a country club. The golf course is really what lures people here because it is such a special golf course, and our superintendent's literally the best in the business and puts an amazing product out there. But we do it all. We've got a pool that the families, go utilize and love it. It's a cool atmosphere down here. We have 4 different racket sports. Our director of rackets is one of the most highly regarded in the industry. She just won her 3rd consecutive national platform tennis championship. But paddle tennis, pickleball, and squash, and then social. It's a really cool social environment too. We quiet down so much in the winter when the golf activity quiets, so we do close for a couple of months. But we've just reopened. There was a great vibe at our opening party last weekend. And so it's a little bit of everything. But the people are, I used the phrase work hard, play hard before. You've got people here that are largely here because of the family component. There's a big part of that. You've got people that it's a bit of a party when they're out there playing. We've got a component of really, really good players. So we've had some highly successful juniors and some that are in college now that we're really proud of them. And then you got people entertaining clients too. So it's a little bit of everything. And we get roped into all this stuff. I get to play golf with a lot of different people. I describe the part of the reason I love the place so much is my wife and I socialize with a long list of members, not because I feel like we should. It's just because we've become really genuine friends with a lot of people here. So anyway, it really is a special place.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. Now, Scott, obviously I know you're not one to sit here and harp on all the things that you've accomplished throughout your tenure, but I do think the one accolade that you got is a pretty big deal. Being recognized as the PGA Professional of the Year, the highest honor really that the PGA of America can bestow to pros. What was that like? Did you kind of know you had a chance? Did you know you were in the running? And then when you receive it, are you kind of like a little bit in shell shock? Like, wow, this is look what I accomplished.
There's been a couple steps along the way. I'm beyond honored. and so proud for the New Jersey PGA, which has, in a big way, made me better. The peers I have in New Jersey, the current and past staff have been fantastic. I'm so proud of their accomplishments. We've got a long list of people that have advanced their career because of their time here, and they've had to prop me up while they're here. That's their biggest job, is to make my life easier and help me get through past my shortcomings. And then this membership, that they take great pride in seeing our careers evolve. And so, the steps along the way, the New Jersey PGA nominated me. And initially I was like, guys, I'm not comfortable with this. And they were like, listen, you're a representative of the New Jersey PGA, your club, current past staff. And that helped me understand why I should let them nominate me. And then I get a phone call from the president of the PGA of America in December. And candidly, I was in shock. I just couldn't believe it, because I'm very familiar with the list of past honorees. And then at the PGA show, they announced all the 2025 special award winners. The actual recognition doesn't happen until November in Frisco, Texas, at our annual meeting. So there's still more to come, but beyond proud for the people that I just mentioned, and just so grateful for all the support I've gotten along the way. I mean, from family to friends to my peers in the industry, I've just been trying to learn from all of them along the way, and so fortunate for all the support I've got. So it's humbling. It's really humbling. I am uncomfortable with some of it, but I'm getting a little more comfortable with it. But thank you for asking.
Now, what kind of things go into that, Scott? Like, is there certain like criteria that you need to have met? Like, you need to be at your club for X amount of years, or your club has to do X amount of rounds? Like, is there anything like that in order to get this award?
It's not so much one of the cool things about the PGA of America is we have so many different classifications, and we've had people that have come from resorts or private clubs or public clubs, or so it's not so much the facility you're at; it's more the contributions to your section. In our case, the New Jersey PGA section, things that have happened at your career, things that have happened from a mentoring standpoint, the staff that you've gotten to work alongside, and what's happened to them after their time at your club. But really, it's an application that's submitted by our executive director. His name's Chris Bauer, who's the ED here at New Jersey PGA, and he submits it, in this case, on my behalf. And there's just a lot of questions. There's kind of two layers of the process, where the first one goes in, then I guess they determine a handful of finalists. So I did know I was a finalist. No idea who the other finalists were, but I do know the last year's Tony Pancake, and the year before's Jeff Kitty down at Aronimink. I mean, the list is incredible. So I just can't believe that I'm listed with all those people now. It's amazing.
It's a testament to maybe longevity is not the right word, but like the people who have been under you that have gone on to be head pros and gone on to do some great things, and your longevity and the, what you've done in the PGA section is really the testament to what you do there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And part of that process is some of our past staff and peers in the New Jersey PGA did some testimonials on my behalf, and really just honored for the words and things that they wrote and submitted. So that was part of the process too.
Now, Scott, obviously, you guys have hosted a couple FedEx Cup events on the PGA Tour, and what's coming there this year is you're set to host the 2025 USGA 4-ball. What's that preparation been like to host another big time event with big time amateurs and frankly, big time players that are coming into, your spot, your location?
So ours has been a little quicker maybe than others. We found out about 2 years before the championship that they wanted us to host. They actually announced that we're going to host the event you just mentioned this May, the 31 U.S. Senior Women's Open, and then the 38 U.S. Senior Open.
Nice.
We hadn't done a USGA championship here since the 1987 Women's Open. So anybody that was involved with that has, moved on. And then working with the associations is completely different. We had a great relationship and experience working with the PGA Tour, but it's completely different than the USGA. And I will say that from the day they came here, the way the USGA works is like you reach out and say, hey, we're interested in hosting something. We didn't know what. We had some ideas what. So that led to a visit by their team, Mark Hill, and then eventually John Bodenhammer, who oversees all their championships, and literally spent an entire day with them. Had to be 8-9 hours. And we toured every corner of the property. And John grabbed me at the end. He goes, what do you guys want to do? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we can host anything here, any championship we have except a U.S. Open. We just don't have the footprint to U.S. Open. So that kind of, we answered the question, and then they have a pretty lengthy process with their committee to come back because obviously this is happening all over the country. And then they made us that invitation to host all 3 of those events. So that's the beginning of the process. They've been fantastic partners. I mean, fantastic partners. We've had multiple meetings with them on site and Zoom calls as well. This past week, we had our final site visit with all of our committees, along with the committees from Echo Lake, who's our co-host, presenting back to the USGA on where we are and what our plans are for everything from player services to evacuation to medical to the player reception, which will be here at Plainfield, to the rules dinner, which will be at Echo Lake, to how we're managing the practice facilities, volunteer recruitment. So there's a ton of moving parts. And, one of the things I'm proud of is this membership here. We're in a good spot with volunteers. We need more. So here's a selfless plug. Anybody that might be listening, we'd love to have you involved and get involved. There's about 1,200 volunteer shifts that we have to cover. So over 400 volunteers with people covering 2 or at least 2, but usually 3 shifts. So there's a bunch of moving parts, but our membership, when we hosted the tour events, after we hosted in 11, the guys from the PGA Tour pulled us aside and said, nobody has had more member involvement as a host site during the entire year than you guys. So I thought that said a lot about this membership. And I use the word, how many givers we have here as opposed to takers. They dove in, and the same thing's happening here with our committee involvement and our volunteer involvement, and also our fundraising. There's a good bit of fundraising. These are not revenue generating events when you're hosting a USGA 4-ball. So there is a fundraising component to it too. So that's kind of a rambling description of where we are, but here we are less than 6 weeks away. And we're ecstatic. The talent that's coming, it's like if the PGA Tour is a 10, the U.S. Amateur is a 9. This is 8.5, and the winners will play at a level that is U.S. Amateur and or even PGA Tour level that week. And then the other thing that's really cool about this is there are some elite juniors. You've got a ton of mid-ams, and there's even some seniors that get in there. I think there's 2 father-son teams. Cool. You got a bunch of guys that competed together in college that might be 28 or 32 now. Bunch of past Walker Cuppers and U.S. Am and obviously U.S. Mid-Am participants. And the qualifying went on. It started, I believe, in August and completed in December last year. So it starts way in advance just because of the timing of the championship being in May. They can't have qualifiers in March and April. So
at least not New Jersey.
No, and it's one of their most popular events. I think it's the 3rd most subscribed to event as far as entries for a championship of the 19 that the USGA hosts. So it's an enormously popular event, especially we're the 10th. There's only been 9 championships so far, but obviously a very, very popular event.
What made you decide when they ask you, what would you want to host? I feel like that's a crazy question to ask somebody, man, are you asking me, I get to choose whatever? Like, I get it. I'm not getting it. But if you're asking me minus the US Open, what else can I host? Between you and potentially, the board, the membership, the other, employees, like what made you decide that, hey, listen, we want the 4-ball?
Well, they actually come back to the host site. You put in a request and then they do their assessment and then they come back to you and say, here's what we're thinking. So ultimately they made that decision. Gotcha. We did talk that there was interest to do a U.S. Women's Open, and they're like, between the ones that are announced and the ones that are soon to be announced, we're already into the 40s. That's how far out these things are cited.
Yeah, that's
So
so
the
crazy
club
to
did
me.
think it would be cool to have another U.S. Women's Open. But I better not be working then. And I know the people that are involved in the board won't be involved in the board then. So it's just such a long runway. But Mike Wan came to one of our fundraising events and he said, we're so thrilled that there's 3 announced, but we hope 3 turns into 8, turns into 10. So, there's a hope from them and us that this turns into a continuous thing, obviously spread out over several years in between each one. But their process is just there's such a long lead time to it. So that was part of, to answer your question, that was part of what went into it as well.
It's pretty wild that you only got 2 years for this one, but the others are, what'd you say, 31 and 2038?
38,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you got more than 10 years for one of them and you got 2 years for another. So it's kind of crazy to the
Exactly.
speed of which you got to prepare this one for.
Exactly right.
What are you guys looking to do for the course that's outside of normal play? Are we growing the rough a little bit thicker? Are we not widening, condensing the fairways? Is there anything you're doing to the course, or are you just gonna let it be firm and fast and what we normally have is what it is?
The short answer is virtually nothing is changing. That was one of the things they said after that lengthy full day visit with our superintendent, Travis Pauly, and me was, they're like, we could host events here in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is because of the hard work that our committees and Gil Hance, who's our consulting architect, did. I mean, we did a ton of work in the early 2000s. There was a 10-year window there where we did extensive restoration and renovation work. But we're at a spot where we don't have to do much. The little things we're doing are we are not doing any spring aerification like we normally do in April. So our conditions right now for April are like the best they've ever been in April. They're phenomenal. There was some extra fertilizer in the fall to kind of beef things up. The rough's going to be legit. It sounds like they're going to cut it like 5 inches and then let it go the week of. Firm and fast is kind of what we do anyway. So, Travis loves it firm and fast. A little tinge of brown is a good thing. So that's pretty normal. We did a little bit of work across the street. So obviously we own the West 9, Plainfield West 9 as well. And that's where the practice facility was for the tour events and will be for the 4-ball. So we had to put in a new bunker over there just for a practice area thing. Beyond that, there's really not that much that's changed. It's more tweaks. There was very little we had to do. There's some aesthetic stuff. Parking lot renovation and stuff like that that'll make the first and last impression for everybody nicer. But that was something we were going to do anyway. That had nothing to do with the championship. So it's small things to answer your question.
I always find that interesting when you hear like a course that's hosting something and they have, they shrunk their fairways by 10 yards and they had to move things around. But Mike and I found out firsthand when we played there, your course is ready in just a week just to get grandstands up if they needed to. It is very, very hard and in pristine condition at I would imagine at all times. So
yeah, he does some job. Usually mid-April through October when we do fall aerifications, it's awesome. So there's not that much we have to do differently.
No.
I do have a question about the routing. Now, when we've been fortunate, thanks to you and your staff of getting out there, I was talking to Dave a little bit too, that the routing may change, and Mike kind of echoed this as well. What is the routing going to be for the 4-ball? And then I guess the back end question to that is, your 9th hole is so good. Has there ever been a talk about making that the true 18th hole, or never? I'm just crazy for thinking something like that.
So the routing is changing for the 4-ball.
Got it.
And just like a little backstory, our 18th hole was Donald Ross's 16th hole. And there was a change made. What is currently our driving range and parking area was the 17th and 18th holes. Those holes got replaced with what we call the tunnel, which is after our little halfway house, 13, 14, and 15. So that happened in we believe somewhere around 1930, early 30s. So our current 18th hole was the 16th hole of the original routing. With that said, we get a lot of that. Why can't we finish on 9? The PGA Tour did not finish on 9 because we did not have the room to do the build out that they wanted to do. The build out in 211 and 215 for the PGA Tour playoff, they literally had the biggest build out around an 18th green that entire calendar year. At the time, it was Barclays was the sponsor. It was massive. It was literally a stadium, and you couldn't service that or even fit that around our 9th green. So they kept the routing the way it is. However, to finish on 9, the U.S. Women's Open did it. They just flipped 9s. That's happened for some MGA and state Golf Association events as well. And then in 2017, we hosted the first Junior President's Cup. What a cool event. 12 of the best juniors in the world. 6 of them have now won on the PGA Tour. So it was a really high level of junior play. Ashkai Bhatia and several others. They wanted to finish on 9, and instead of flipping 9s, they came up with this routing where you play our first, second, third holes, and you go to 13 and finish on the 9th hole is then 18. Then you go 10, 11, 12, and you go to 4, and you finish on 9. So that's the routing we're going to use. So I constantly in my head have to keep thinking about it when I'm talking to the USGA because they want to talk in terms of the championship routing. But it takes me a minute to be able to answer those things accurately. But that is one other change we're making. So we're going to do our members opening day events, playing that routing, and another prize fund event. And it does create a little buzz. We actually did it for the State Open last year, too. We hosted the 2024 New Jersey State Open, and we used that routing as well. And the nice thing about our 9th green is it's uncomfortably close to the clubhouse for some people.
Mm-hmm. Not to name names, but maybe Mike or I found it to be too close.
A lot of windows get hit. Not really people, but we've had some close calls. And when you get people dining on that patio, we've had a few 4 on the patio. It's kind of an awkward yelling, but people scatter and duck a little bit. So that event, that whole area will be full with people. And it gets where someone's lining up a 15-footer for whatever, and you kind of hear spoons hitting a soup bowl or whatever. It's eerily quiet with people much closer to you than you're used to when you're playing golf. So it's a pretty cool setting, and that's how we're going to be able to do it. At least for stroke play. Obviously in match play, you don't know if a match is going to get to the last hole or not. But that's a long-winded answer to your question about what the routing is going to be.
But the idea that the membership would want that change, that doesn't is the history and the tradition too much kind of set in stone for that ever to be completely altered on a day-by-day basis?
I don't know. Gotcha. There is a lot, many decades of history in our normal routing. The balance kind of gets skewed from one 9 to the other from a difficulty standpoint. That first 9 is really tough. So it does kind of skew things from a balance standpoint and where the par 5s land on the scorecard. So the par is different too. And that's the last thing they're doing. We have 2 par 5s that are on the shorter side by today's standards. I'm just going to use our regular routing to explain this. The 5th and 8th holes, so 14 and 17 in the championship, will be played as par 4s, not par 5s. And they're
the 5th hole too.
What's that?
The 5th hole too?
Yeah.
The one. Wow.
They'll play the very front of that tee. It's 495, a little uphill. It's a tough par 5.
It is. Yeah.
Tough par 4. So that it'll be par 70 for the US 4 ball. Obviously, that really only affects things in the stroke play portion of things. And then the tour did the same thing. And then on our 8th hole, 17 for the championship, that'll play as a par 4. And it's a really, really stout par 4.
No doubt it is. Yeah, I knew about the 8th hole, but I didn't know about the 5th hole. That's a long par 4. It's going to be a big
honestly, that crowd, from the tee where they'll play it, I'd be middle of the pack to a little shorter than distance-wise for these compared to these guys, probably a little shorter than average. From the tee they're going to play, I can kind of get it where I might have a 4-iron or a hybrid or something like that. The guys that really move it, they're going to be hitting middle irons in.
Okay, maybe that's the tee box we played is one I'm envisioning, but playing from a upper tee box, I guess, would shorten it.
It's the very, very front of the member tee is where it's going to be.
Okay, nice. Yeah, very cool. That's interesting to hear, like, those kind of dynamics. I always going back to my question about, like, what do you do to the course? I do find that the that kind of like the routing, the course management of it, so to speak. I always find that super interesting.
Part of our walkthrough this past week, it included the committee meetings and media day, and also a full walkthrough both at Echo and Plainfield. And they actually wanted input from the superintendent, myself, same thing over at Echo Lake, Superintendent Ray Ferrari, their head professional, when it came to hole locations. So they were kind of picking out the 4 hole locations that they were going to need. And they were looking at us. They're like, good there? Is that too extreme? Whatever. I mean, they erred on the more challenging side with the hole locations. They're tough.
Yeah.
But very, very fair. And, they wanted input. They're partnering with us. They're not just coming in saying, this is our show now, get out of the way. They're not like that at all.
Now, you said before you have a great relationship with the PGA Tour, and the USGA has been great in this process. Is that one thing that's different? It sounds like the USGA is a partner in this with you. Does the PGA Tour just kind of come in and take over, or how is that relationship different between the two?
Well, it's obviously been years. The last one we hosted was 2015. But they were very much partners with us with a bunch of things, and they wanted input. But when they take over a site, they do, kind of own the site for that 7-8 day window, and it's totally their call when it comes to how preparing the golf course, rough heights, green speeds, irrigation, no irrigation, whatever. They own all those decisions, and you're able to influence some of it, but they weren't looking for a ton of input. They've got these guardrails they have to work within that are based on their player advisory boards and everything else. So totally understand, but the tour was very much good partners with us when it came to trying to mitigate interruptions to member access and timing of when they were doing the build out, which was several weeks. If we had a big member guest event or whatever, we would, cross off those days and the jackhammers and the forklifts would go away. We don't have any of that stuff with the USGA. I would say the biggest difference is with the USGA, there's a lot more responsibility on the committees. And we knew that as a host going in than there was with the tour. They come in, they've got their company, they could come in and they got it all covered. They were looking to us for help when it came to leads for selling hospitality and stuff like that. But our committee didn't have to do anything. They did all those sales.
Gotcha.
So it's just a different model, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, for us, the partnerships have been very healthy in both cases, even though it's a different model.
Yeah. I think the guardrails you mentioned for the PGA Tour, that they have to kind of be within certain parameters for the tour players to expect. I think that kind of does make it a little easier in some respects and harder in others. That, like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we have to do. So fit into this box.
So a kind of a funny story about course setup in 2015, for the whole year leading up to the event, all they said was firm and fast, firm and fast, firm and fast. And our superintendent got the exact weather he needed and delivered this incredible firm and fast product. So on Friday night, and you all know how good these guys are, the leader was at 6 under par after 36 holes. So very, very difficult test by what we're used to seeing on a week-to-week basis. And the players, who, by the way, were wonderful as a group, they were wonderful. I think sometimes they get a little bit of a reputation for being prima donnas. These guys were wonderful. Couple beauties in every group, but they were fantastic. But after those 2 days of getting their groin kicked in, they blew up Tim Fincham's phone. They were so upset with how hard the golf course was. And the PGA Tour went to our superintendent. He's like, you got to run the irrigation. We got to soften this place up a little bit. And then Jason Day goes nuts the next 2 days, 63, 62, actually flipping in sequence-wise. But he went nuts. He made everything. And he finished at, I want to say, 19 under. I mean, just went nuts. So that's just kind of a little bit behind the scenes why the tour sometimes does what they do. I mean, their decisions are largely based on the players. That's why they have that pack and the advisory boards, and depending on the championship, some things are harder than others, but they have a lot of influence on the way things are set up.
Now, listen, I got a couple questions here to wrap up, but I do know your season is about to start kicking into gear. What's your game like these days heading into your golfing season?
Well, we'll find out. We got our pro on Monday, Tuesday down at Galloway National.
Great golf
Awesome
course
that we get to go to every year. And I play with my dear friend Matty McKeon, who's the head professional down at Spring Lake. The weather's supposed to be terrible. But to answer your question, we're going to find out. But playing is still a priority for me. I still work at it. I love to compete. I'm always trying to improve. I've got some time carved out today and tomorrow to practice, but I've been working at it, and I'm going to continue to work at it. So we're going to find out. One of the nice things about being in the over 50 set is there's even more stuff to play in. And I love to compete against and learn from some of the really, really talented 50 and overs in our section. So combining that stuff with the normal New Jersey section stuff and then the other stuff in the area, from the Met Golf Association, State Open, stuff like that, I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
So it sounds like the club is for you playing as much as possible. Like they're supportive in this endeavor for you.
Our membership is beyond supportive of all the staff. They're really. I mentioned our director of rackets, and she competes in a full schedule, and so do I. Our director of instruction, Ryan Hager, is a very talented player, and we just have to use good judgment. I'm missing one of our favorite events of the year, the New Jersey PGA Clam Bake, because it's during the 4-ball. Obviously, I mean, I'm the host professional. I'm going to be here. Yeah. That's our first priority. So the club's activities are always the first on our priority list. And as long as we can provide the experience that our members expect and deserve, and we take great pride in providing, they're very supportive of all of us playing. But we can't play at 100% of the events, 100% of the seasons.
Right.
But we play when we can.
That's great.
All
right. I have a question here that I like to ask people in your position. Now, you can't say your home golf course and you can't say Pine Valley because the majority of us can't get on there. But if you got one invite to any golf course in the state of New Jersey and you need to ask your significant other for the get out of jail free card because you just got to drop what you're doing and go, what is that golf course in New Jersey for you?
I can't give you a few.
Don't do
I'm
the
okay
Ryan
with a
to
few.
me.
I'm
Don't
okay.
do the Ryan to me, Scott. We've been so good right now. You're going to give me like 5. That's Ryan's thing.
I'm not going to give you 5, but I tend to err towards the older traditional golf courses from the really special architects, especially the ones that have done great restoration renovation work. And Somerset Hills is one of those places that I think has done a really cool job. And the other quality they have, which I say this in a positive light, is there's some quirkiness to that golf course and that piece of property, which I really enjoy. But I mean, the fun to play every day factor, I think, is really high there. So that would certainly be on that list. That's part of the reason I love Plainfield too. We've got some quirkiness too. But it's so fun to play every day. But if I was going to sneak in a couple others, I would certainly sneak in Ridgewood, and Hollywood's fantastic. Mountain Ridge. I mean, there's so many good ones. That's one of the greatest things about where we live, is these great old golf courses. And then the work Gil's doing over at Baltusrol, I can't wait to see the upper. Can't wait to see it.
Yes, Scott, that's why Mike and I started this, was because there is so much great golf here in New Jersey that we got to shed some light on it. And yeah, that restoration at Upper is going to be really fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I've seen some of it during but obviously haven't played it. So I know Gil was really excited about it. I keep in touch with him a little bit, and he was really excited for the lower and how it turned out, but he's more excited for what's going on with the upper.
And the uppers what we hear, people like the upper more, or the membership or regular play like to play the upper more than to play the lower. the lower is the championship. It's the better of the two courses, but the more fun is the upper.
I think the fun to play every day thing is why when you ask a lot of members, they tend to kind of err towards the upper. There's some pretty significant variety there. The views that have been opened up because of the tree work is amazing. I mean, you get up on some of those early holes and look over your left shoulder towards New York City, and you can see the whole skyline now, and you can see across that property. I know it's a bit controversial, but the tree work kind of fad, if you will, that's happened at all those places I just listed and many others has opened up incredible views and options. And a lot of the options got, from a strategy standpoint, got covered up because these places became hallways. Plainfield was a hallway golf course, and you had to hit it in between the trees. And if you didn't, you punched it out. Now you've got a lot of different options. You can try and get at greens from different angles. Sometimes you take some chances that might work out, but a lot of times they don't work out. And again, it's just more fun to play every day.
Yeah. So I like to end on this question here. As someone like yourself who's playing as often as you do, who plays as competitively as you do, are there any kind of things that you do that would be, some people might call them quirks, some people might call them superstitions, but are there anything that you do before you tee it up that you're like, I gotta have this?
Yeah, I'm definitely a routine guy and I'm deliberate, but I mean, and part of this is being in the over 50 set, but I have to do some mobility stuff to get my body moving. So I kind of hide in the back corner of a locker room somewhere to get the body moving. I don't hit nearly as many balls as I used to. So I got to get the body moving. Got to mark my golf ball with 2 blue dots and 1 pink dot because I have 2 boys and a girl with my kids.
Love that.
Couple little things with my equipment. My wife's a breast cancer survivor. She's a warrior. So proud of her. So I do have a couple little recognition things on my golf bags as far as like the breast cancer logo, stuff like that. So those are some of the little things. And then I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. So we named our dog Fenway, and I've got that stamped on one of my wedges.
Okay. I love that. Like that's a good one. The 2 blue and a pink dot. I love it. We haven't had something like that yet. That's really cool. Scott, thank you so much for joining us here. This has been absolutely awesome. Again, sorry we missed you the other day, but excited to get up there again and bother you in person at some point.
Yeah, I hope you guys come. See if you can come for the 4-ball, and then next time you play, I got to be in the group. We got to go play some golf together. But again, honor to be with you guys, and really appreciate what you do to promote this game in the Garden State.
Appreciate it, pal.
Take care.
Thanks, boys.